He could not get his weight and his health under control, and it cost our family everything, and it ultimately cost Chuck his life.
Welcome to the Women Talk podcast, where ordinary women share their extraordinary stories. We would love for you to share your story on our podcast. Go to www.womentalk.ca and apply to share your story. And now, let's welcome your host, founder and CEO of Women Talk, Bridget Lessard-DL.
Welcome back to the Women Talk podcast, where your story matters. It's always such a pleasure to share with you these amazing stories, and today is no different. Today's story is about a difficult relationship many of us struggle with: food. Kandice Wirch was married to a man whose relationship with food was so difficult that it cost him not only his marriage, but his life. But as I always say, life happens for you, not to you. And this experience inspired my guest to create Weight Boss for Life program. Let's listen to Kandice's story.
I am really excited to be with you here today and to share my story. I am so passionate about health and weight loss because my late ex-husband died at the age of 55. He could not get his weight and his health under control, and it cost our family everything, and it ultimately cost Chuck his life. I've worked to make meaning not only for myself, but for my children, from a painful story of loss to one that has meaning with powerful lessons and knowledge that can help so many others struggling with how to take back control of their health, their vitality, by taking control of their weight and their food. You see, Chuck was a type 1 diabetic and I was a nurse, a combination that meant different things for both of us. Chuck thought I was a nightingale nurse, and he romanticized that notion of nurse as mothering and caring. I, on the other hand, saw my role with his health as partner and saw him as responsible for his behavior. Through 15 years of marriage, these roles were blurred, manipulated, and at times we used them to brutalize each other. The bottom line is that we both had a history that influenced how we acted and reacted to the world around us. Even though I'm a nurse, I felt hopeless to bring about change. I felt voiceless in the eyes of the medical system and alone in trying to bring about change for my family. I can remember fighting not only with Chuck to change the medical system, to listen, to help him, to help me, to help the kids. One physician who was working with Chuck told me following an examination of him to leave him. You'll live a life of heartache and sorrow. He doesn't take any of this seriously. Needless to say, I panicked, and Chuck went on to find a doctor that would support his bias. He found one, a brand new endocrinologist who herself was about 100 pounds overweight. I can remember her saying following Chuck's heart attack when I was 6 months pregnant, not to worry. We all have a little weight to lose. When I look back now, I can see how they both fed into each other's confirmation bias. Her solution to fix the problem was to send us to yet another diabetic nutrition class. Chuck was always the most participatory student, very engaging, and represent as committed to change. That is until change was required in the face of discomfort. Food was his buffer to discomfort. What I know now is that his brain screamed for him to keep the status quo in spite of the cost. His subconscious mind worked overtime to make sure patterns stayed the same, because change is always interpreted to our brain as danger. And as all this went on, he became more angry at life and at himself, and I got angrier and angrier. I can remember buying Ritz crackers and throwing them into the cart and just visualizing myself just smashing them into his face. It was not a good place for either of us to be. What finally made me leave was when he could not pick up the kids safely from school. He was starting to drive with blood sugars that were unstable. He was not willing to look at his responsibility to get them stable. Chuck would eat what he wanted and then abuse his insulin to manage the excess calories. There was a huge part of me that thought leaving would snap him into place and he'd finally want to change his life and his health. But that's not what happened. Chuck died from complications related to his weight and what he put into his mouth. why in all the face of all he knew, all I knew, all the medical system, was he not able to change? The kids wonder why they were not enough. They wonder if they could have done more. They wonder and worry about their health and the ability to take control of their bodies and their food choices. They talk a lot about wanting to have saved him. I wonder why all the time. And I've been striving to understand this whole complex world of weight, change, mindset, and personal efficacy. I've sought answers both personally and professionally. I've explored hundreds of diets, different options to lose weight. This I know, weight loss is a confusing world with thousands of different answers. I see the missing piece to weight loss, and one that my family was never offered, is the mindset of weight loss. Besides my nursing degree, I have a diploma in holistic integrative nutrition, and I'm also a practicing clinical hypnotherapist. I want to address mindset and the emotions of weight loss. From my family's experience, I know we were educated at the yin-yang with exercise and diet, the what to eat, but we were never noticed as thinking, feeling humans who were hurting. It was seen as a physical problem. Change A, do B, and you'll get the magic results of C, weight loss. Chuck knew what to do. He was always ready to start a new diet, to make change. The problem was it was never sustained, and the more he failed, the angrier and angrier he got. I can remember when I started to work at losing my post-baby 50 pounds, how mad he got at me when I wouldn't eat potato chips with him. He said under his breath, "It must be so nice to be so fucking perfect." I now know Chuck's brain was working against him. There was never enough white-knuckled willpower to maintain the grip of resisting his old behaviors. It is a sad truth we're all getting bigger. And the other sad fact is that 97% of weight loss attempts fail or fail to keep the weight off for greater than 2 years. Yet we continue to try and offer the same solutions over and over again. And we continue to believe there's a magic solution, a pill, a food, a plan. Either way, just one thing. But the truth is, solution is always within inside us. And that leads me to the 5 big truths about weight loss. 1, it is way more than sloth and gluttony. 2, limiting beliefs will hold you back, and confirmation bias will keep you confirming those beliefs. 3, change is hard. And it's way easier if you engage your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. We have to work with our brains. 4, support is fundamental to success. And 5, all the nutritional noise out there is distracting. It's distracting us from looking at our behaviors. It keeps us powerless because the solution is seen or marketed as outside of ourselves. And all 5 of these points have mindset as their primary focus. But here's what the problem is. Most weight loss programs focus on nutrition and movement. Fundamental components, absolutely for sure. But the biggest predictor of change is the change that takes place between our brains. It is our thoughts and our experiences of those thoughts. I know Chuck did not move past the discomfort of change for a number of reasons, nor did anyone talk to him about his vision, his adverse childhood events, his limiting beliefs. So many of our thoughts play in our mind and play out in our life are related to limiting personal beliefs about ourself, our value, and our abilities. And confirmation bias will work for us to keep confirming those messages over and over again. Whether we want to lose 10 pounds or 100 pounds, we really have to engage with change and work on our mind to change our habits and our beliefs. With my business partner, Sue Evans, we've created a weight loss program based on our collective 50 years of experience in health, nutrition, coaching, and working with the conscious and the unconscious mind. Weight Loss for Life is a comprehensive, multidisciplinary program that focuses on the mind game of weight loss first and foremost, followed by the tools, insight, and skills to put into action and succeed at taking your power back, living that healthy, vibrant, sexy life you deserve. Just imagine what it would feel like when weight is no longer as a thought that occupies your mind. Just imagine that freedom. And if that program excites you, please reach out to us at information@weightbossforlife.com. We are also an accredited provider for the Weight Loss Grant Program, and I thank you for listening to my story.
A quick thank you to two of our sponsors that make this podcast possible. First, Seeger Consulting, removing the technology headache from your business. For more information on Seeger Consulting, go to seegerconsulting.com. And a big thank you to sportsbras.ca, where you get less bounds for your buck. For the perfect sports bra, go to sportsbras.ca. And now, back to the story. That's a powerful story. When you lose somebody you love, that changes everything, doesn't it?
It changes everything. It makes you question everything.
Now, were you into nutrition before your husband passed away?
No, not in a professional sense. So I was nursing. Nutrition was always a focus in the home because we'd, gone to diabetic classes. I certainly had it as a part of my education in nursing school. And I have always been passionate about the food that goes into my body and the mouths of my family. So it was always in the house.
Yeah. So what do you think was keeping your husband from seeing the light?
I think it wasn't my job to be his therapist, and I can only reflect back without him being present to actually, say that's true or that's not true. But from what I know, it was his limiting beliefs about himself. Was he able to actually visualize himself as being worthy of change? 1, 2, being able to succeed at change, and being comfortable to sit in that moment of uncomfortableness when you resist an urge or you make a change, or whatever the case may be, to just sit in moments of discomfort.
What was the most difficult thing in losing your husband?
The most difficult thing was actually leaving him, because before his death, I had to lose him by leaving him because I just couldn't watch anymore, nor could I leave the kids exposed to that kind of
behavior,
anger and behavior. I wanted to influence them. So I had to actually say goodbye in many ways prior to his death.
Wow, that would be hard. Now, how has this affected your kids? Has it affected them in a positive way or in a negative way?
I would say both. Absolutely, they are going to have stories of question and loss and trauma around the, loss of their parents' marriage and ultimately the loss of his life. They begged, pleaded, cajoled, did everything with him to say, Daddy, you got to lose weight. Dad, stop eating that. Dad, and yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to start tomorrow. And you just watched it unfold, never being able to make the change. But whether you have, 5 pounds or 10 pounds to lose or 100 pounds to lose, you still have to do that struggle to engage with change and want it enough for yourself. And I'm not sure Chuck believed enough in himself or loved himself enough. He had lots of limiting beliefs around him.
And I think it's the case for a lot of us, There's just stories behind the weight gain usually.
Yeah, there's always stories behind weight gain. And often a good portion of our weight gain is related to how we buffer ourselves in the world. We like to comfort ourselves with food. And we say things like when we get home from work, oh, I deserve that. I had a really hard day. So I'm going to buffer that feeling of uncomfortableness with something that's soothing to me. It may be something that's soothing from our childhood, or it may be something we're just starting to soothe ourselves with now, and it's creating a habit or a pattern in our life. And we don't want to make those shifts. It's change is always hard. Our brain screams out, don't do that. Don't change. That's scary.
Yeah, totally. And I love how you're wording this, how we use it to soothe ourselves, because there's certain foods I love and I will never give up eating, but to see the difference between eating it because you love it and eating it to make yourself feel better.
It's a totally different mindset. And that's a beautiful recognition that you just did right there, is you are now saying, I see the two different reasons to eat a food, and I'm going to choose to engage in a conscious reason to eat those foods, as opposed to an unconscious reason of, I'm just going to soothe myself to make an emotional experience go away. No, I like this food and I'm going to plan for it in my week, my day, however I want it to be. It's a conscious decision. The moment we get conscious is the moment we take our power back.
Yeah, like you've totally made me realize this. It's actually really cool because, of course, a lot of the problems with going on these diets is that, like, I remember, doing the low carb diets, and I couldn't eat fruits.
Yeah.
And I was craving it and I hated it. Like, I would see an orange and I would like, oh my God. And I would think that's ridiculous. It's like 60 calories.
Yes. And as soon as you say that, or have that mindset of diet is a temporary experience and I'm going to white knuckle my way through this, it's like putting the red elephant in the room. Now, you can't eat that. You can't eat that. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but as soon as somebody tells me I can't eat something, that's all I'm thinking about. It's like in my head 24/7.
I know.
Somebody said to me I had to go on a diet, I'd want a peanut butter sandwich like you would not believe. If I'm not on a diet, it never even filters in. And what I love about the place I'm at right now, because I am at such a peace with my weight, I don't even think about it anymore. It doesn't even enter my thought on a daily basis of restriction or can have or can't have. It's so freeing. It's unbelievably freeing.
So really, in another way, it's kind of like, it's not what you eat, but why you eat it.
Why you eat it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very different way of looking at it. So tell me a little bit, what's your opinion on doctors and food?
Well, I think that doctors in medical school don't get a lot of nutritional information. And I think they feel somewhat that their hands just go up in like, okay, you just got to stop eating or stop doing this. They don't have time to really help counsel or coach people through it. And I think about Chuck's experience, like that one doctor just threw his hand up in the air and just said, I can't help you. And the next doctor went, well, it's not that bad. We all have a little weight to lose.
Yeah.
So it was never really talking to him about, Chuck, what's your vision for yourself? What's your vision for your family? Who do you want to be? What are you covering up? What are you hiding from? What are you afraid of? Mm-hmm. And bottom line, I know Chuck was afraid. He was afraid. He at a point in his life gave up, completely gave up. Yeah. It became too big of a problem. And Chuck was not a grotesquely obese man, but he abused food to such an extent that the consequences in his body were so huge. Sugar was his drug of choice. Absolutely. Sugar and fats.
So what would your number one advice be to someone who is watching a loved one doing this sort of thing?
My number one advice to that person is seek help and support yourself. For me, when I was living that, I felt alone, and I always knew at some point I would do this work because I kept thinking, nobody's noticing this. Nobody's noticing this. And to me, the analogy is Al-Anon. I wanted to think, well, where's the Al-Anon for me? Where's the Al-Anon for this experience? Like, help me figure out how to help my family.
And is there such a place that people can go to?
There isn't. And that's why Weight Boss for me is so important. I want to empower people to take back their power over their weight and their food and the choices they make. And all the skills that we teach in Weight Boss can be applied to any habit change that you want to make in your life. Conscious awareness, first thing.
So is Weight Boss for the person wanting to lose weight, but obviously it is, but is it also for somebody watching a loved one and they want to help them?
It can be for both, because as soon as anyone takes responsibility for their own health and their own weight, you're going to influence those around him. And one of the questions you said to me is, how has it affected my children? So it's affected them both ways. But the benefit that they got was seeing their mom get powerful and take control of her weight, her health, her mental health, and not go down that eating the bag of potato chips with Chuck. So although my children are conflicted, they at least have opposite viewpoints to see the world from. And I hope that was my gift to them, that they do have power and choice.
Yeah. And again, I just love what you have done with it, because, people can feel sorry for themselves and the story that has happened to them, or you can choose to stand on your story and empower yourself and then empower others. And that is exactly what you have done.
Yeah. 100%. That being a victim doesn't serve me, doesn't serve my children, and it only keeps me stuck. And I'm sure my health would go down the tubes if I stood in victim mode.
So what's the first thing you do when I enter your office needing help?
Well, the first thing we do is have a consultation with you about what you're wanting. And then we want to engage you in the process of change by engaging in the program. It is an 18-week program, and it offers all those components of support, because support for change is the number one thing. The second thing is we're going to help you engage in habit-changing behaviors by working with your conscious and your unconscious mind. And we're going to empower you with all the information you need to make healthy choices around food, and we're going to connect you with functional fitness so you know the importance of moving your body. I don't think any program can have an aspect of that standalone. We need to look at weight loss from all three sides: mindset, nutrition, and fitness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you really do. You need all three of them.
You need all three.
So if people want a little more information about your program and what you do, where can they find you?
Please reach out to us. We are at info@weightbossforlife.com.
And is that your website as well?
And our website is www.weightbossforlife.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for the great information. And anyone who's looking to lose weight, I completely agree. You need to look at all three components of this and really have a lot of good support.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. This was an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you have a burning desire to share your story with our audience, apply to be on our podcast. To apply and find a full list of our podcasts, go to www.womentalk.ca.